It was supposed to be a moment of triumph. BTS had flown to the United States to prepare for their highly anticipated new album, a project fans across the globe have been eagerly awaiting for months. The members were working tirelessly in studios scattered across Los Angeles and New York, pushing themselves creatively, emotionally, and physically. But what the cameras didn't capture, and what ARMY could never have predicted, was the heartbreaking scene that unfolded behind the scenes. A scene that left Jimin in tears, shook Jungkook to his core, and raised questions about the cost of perfection in the K-pop industry. Why did Jimin suddenly break down when he saw Taehyung? What had happened between the airport, the plane, and the recording studios that no official statement was willing to fully explain? And most importantly, why is Taehyung's recovery taking so long? Fans have been piecing together the clues, each fragment painting a picture of exhaustion, unspoken worries, and brotherhood that runs deeper than fame. The story begins high above the clouds, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. The group was traveling from Seoul to Los Angeles, their schedule already packed with meetings, rehearsals, and recording sessions for the new album. According to those close to the band, the flight had been relatively uneventful until an alarming moment that would later dominate whispers in the fandom. Taehyung, seated next to Jungkook, suddenly pressed his hand to his face. At first, Jungkook thought it might have been a sneeze or an itch, but then he saw it, a small but alarming streak of blood escaping from Taehyung's nose. The cabin crew rushed to assist, and Jungkook, visibly panicked, pulled tissues from the seat pocket while gently tilting Taehyung's head forward. Fellow passengers recalled seeing the magne speaking to him in hushed tones, his hand on Taehyung's shoulder, as if trying to keep him grounded in the moment. "You're okay, Hyung," Jungkook was overheard saying. But was he really okay? That question has lingered ever since. The cause, insiders say, was exhaustion. BTS's schedule in the weeks leading up to their flight had been merciless. Long nights in the recording booth, choreography rehearsals that stretched past midnight, and last-minute meetings with producers. While all the members were tired, Taehyung had been pushing himself even harder. Those who know him well say he's a perfectionist, unwilling to settle for anything less than excellence. But his determination came at a price. When the plane landed, Taehyung insisted he was fine, brushing it off as just a nosebleed. Jungkook stayed close to him as they exited the aircraft, and the incident seemed destined to fade quietly into the background. But the truth has a way of resurfacing, and it did just days later when Jimin saw him in the studio. It wasn't just that Taehyung still looked pale, it was the way he moved slower than usual, as if every step was a negotiation with his own body. His voice, normally warm and resonant, carried a faint rasp. And when the producers asked him to re-record a high note for a track, he smiled faintly and nodded, but Jimin could see the struggle in his eyes. That was the moment it hit him. Taehyung wasn't recovering as quickly as everyone hoped. Jimin, who has always worn his heart on his sleeve, tried to stay composed. But as the hours passed, he found himself glancing at Taehyung over and over again, silently asking if his friend was okay. At one point, Taehyung excused himself to the bathroom, and when he returned, Jimin caught sight of him discreetly wiping at his nose with a tissue. It was as if the plane incident had never truly ended. And in that moment, Jimin's composure cracked. Witnesses say he turned away from the group, his eyes glassy, before finally excusing himself from the room. He didn't want Taehyung to see him cry, but he couldn't hold it back any longer. Was it just the sight of his best friend in pain? Or was there something deeper? A fear that the relentless pace of their work was doing irreversible damage? This is the question fans have been asking ever since the news leaked, and one that the company has yet to answer. And here's where the mystery deepens. Multiple sources close to the group have hinted that Taehyung's condition may be more complicated than a simple case of fatigue. Some point to his schedule in the US, which has reportedly been even more grueling than in Seoul. Others mention that he's been skipping some rehearsals, a rarity for someone as committed as V. Even the staff members, who are normally tight-lipped, have been overheard expressing concern. What did Jimin see in that studio that made him break down? Why was Jungkook so protective of Taehyung on the flight? And could this be a sign that BTS's new album is taking a toll even the members didn't anticipate? The clues are scattered, but the emotion is undeniable. Hours after leaving the studio, Jimin found himself alone in his hotel room in Los Angeles, staring at the ceiling while the glow from the city seeped through the curtains. Normally, he would have been exhausted enough to fall asleep instantly after a day in the studio. But that night, the image of Taehyung's pale face and quiet smile replayed over and over in his mind. He could still hear Jungkook's calm voice on the plane, urging Taehyung to keep his head slightly forward, telling him he was going to be okay. He could still see the crimson streak on the tissue in Taehyung's hand. What unsettled Jimin the most wasn't just the fact that the nosebleed had happened, it was that Taehyung had brushed it off so quickly, as if it didn't matter. But Jimin knew him well enough to see through the act. He remembered countless times when Taehyung would hide his discomfort, not wanting to slow anyone down. This was who Taehyung was, the friend who would put everyone else's needs before his own, even if it meant quietly enduring pain until around midnight. There was a knock at Jimin's door. When he opened it, Jungkook was standing there, wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, his expression unreadable. "Hyung," Jungkook said quietly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." They sat on the edge of the bed, the hum of the air conditioner filling the silence between them. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Jungkook sighed and said, "I don't think he's telling us everything." Jimin frowned. "You mean about the nosebleed?" "Yes, and about how he's feeling now," Jungkook replied. "On the flight, I thought it was just from the dry air or maybe stress. But in the studio today, he looked worse." Jungkook hesitated, glancing toward the floor. "When he went to the bathroom earlier, I saw him leaning on the sink like he was dizzy." "He didn't know I saw." Jimin felt a chill. "Did you tell anyone?" Jungkook shook his head. "Not yet. I didn't want to cause drama. You know how it is. The company will say it's fine as long as he can stand and sing. But, Hyung, what if it's not fine?" The question hung in the air like a shadow neither of them wanted to acknowledge. Outside, the sounds of Los Angeles nightlife drifted in faintly, a stark contrast to the heavy silence inside the room. Over the next few days, Jimin kept a closer eye on Taehyung. Sometimes, he caught him spacing out in the middle of a conversation, blinking as if trying to shake off a wave of fatigue. Other times, Taehyung would retreat to a quiet corner of the studio between takes, sipping water slowly and breathing in measured intervals. The producers noticed too, though they didn't say much. One afternoon, after a particularly demanding recording session, a sound engineer muttered to another staff member, "He's pushing too hard. This can't be good." Jimin overheard it, and his stomach tightened at by the end of the week. The pressure of the album's looming deadlines was becoming unbearable. BTS had always prided themselves on delivering perfection, but perfection came at a price, one that was now visibly wearing down one of their most beloved members. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a late-night rehearsal, Taehyung was practicing harmonies with Jungkook when he suddenly swayed, catching himself against the microphone stand. Jimin, who was across the room, rushed over instantly. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice sharper than he intended. Taehyung smiled faintly and nodded. "Just a little tired," he said, but his voice lacked its usual warmth. Jimin didn't believe him, not for a second. And that's when the tears came. Not a public breakdown this time, but silent tears that he blinked away as quickly as they fell. He couldn't let Taehyung see. Later that night, Jimin confided in Jungkook again. "We can't just keep pretending this is nothing," he said. "If he keeps pushing himself like this." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The two youngest members of BTS made an unspoken pact then and there. They would watch over Taehyung, even if it meant clashing with the schedule. They couldn't afford to lose him, not just as a bandmate but as a brother. But the question still lingered. Would the company listen? And more importantly, would Taehyung let them help before it was too late?